I'm so excited to share this video with you. I got a chance to hang out with Tom Hopkins. We brought the camera crew over and we just talked, and it was so much fun to find out about his journey and his experiences and just pick his brain. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it.
Hey Bert, come on in, buddy.
Hey Tom, good to see you.
You too.
Tom, thank you so much for inviting us into your home. I'm so excited to be here and to share with our audience some of the secrets of success that you've gained over the last 30, 40 years of your career.
Don't mention it, but it's been a long, wonderful time. Oh, and it's been glorious to help people have a better life and influence them to want to be better.
Right.
What a wonderful way to live.
Yeah, an exceptional way to live. Ultimately, that is really why we're here, is to help each other.
Exactly.
And if you can help a bunch of people and you enjoy it, and what a great legacy.
Definitely. That's exactly right.
All right, so tell me a little bit about your story, your background. Were you always in sales? Did you go to school for sales? How did your career start?
Well, I'm sure I was a lot like many of the people watching us right now. I didn't know I would become successful. In fact, I didn't go to college. I was an average student in high school. I did try for 3 months to go to college, and it wasn't for me. And then, of course, my uncle, thank goodness, he was so upset that I quit college, as my father was as well. He said, Tom, we're working in the steel business. And he gave me a chance to carry steel as an iron worker.
Wow.
And the folks watching this may not know this, but the hardest physical labor on the planet is carrying steel as an iron worker.
I bet.
And I worked on bridge decks in Los Angeles, and it's just a tremendously tough business to throw these bars on your back, to walk 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. But I did it for a year, and after a year I said, man, I got to do something else with my life. I mean, I was 6'2" when I started carrying steel. I have to do something else. So I said, I'm going to go into real estate. My dad suggested that. And of course, I was nervous because I didn't do well in school.
Right.
And so sure enough, I failed my real estate exam 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah, and I was ready to quit. Thought I'd be an iron worker all my life. And luckily a man said, Tom, you must do what you fear most, and I know you're afraid to take it again, but you take that exam, and thank God the 4th time I passed.
Wow.
But then I had another challenge. Back in those years, being a teenager was unacceptable.
So how old were you when you started?
19.
You're 19, you just passed your real estate license.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
And so no broker wanted to hire me because I was a teenager. And then besides that, I would go for an interview, but I didn't have a car. So I'd drive up on the interview on my motorcycle, and they'd all go, well, where's your car? I said, well, I don't own one. That's why I got to get into real estate and make some money. And then, of course, I didn't have dress clothes because, out of high school, you don't.
Right.
And in fact, what's funny, and this story, I never dreamed I'd tell this, but back in 1962, I played in a little band. I was a drummer.
Okay.
And so our band went to see the Beatles when they first came to the Hollywood Bowl in California, 1962.
Wow. Okay.
And we saw them walk out in these beautiful, bright, silver lame band uniforms.
Sure.
And I went to the band, I said, we got to get band uniforms. And so we had silver, if you're going to picture this, silver lame. We put purple velvet collars on them.
Nice.
And so when I went into real estate, finally a broker said, we'll give you a chance, but you show up Monday and you got to wear a suit. Because this is back when in real estate, you had to wear a suit and tie.
Right.
It's different today.
Yeah.
So I thought, my God, I want to go into real estate. I got to wear a suit. I thought, well, I've only got one suit. And so I put on the silver band uniform and got on my purple collar, got on my motorcycle, drove to the office. And I'll never forget, the manager was having the Monday morning meeting.
Right.
I drove in the back. I got off my motorcycle, walked through the back door, sheepishly standing there in this uniform.
Right.
And the broker stopped the meeting. He goes, all of you guys listen up. If this 19-year-old kid in that band uniform can make a living, I expect all of you to get rich. And that's how I started in the real estate business.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't do well when I started. I didn't do well at all. In fact, I only sold one home in the first 6 months. And that's not totally the truth, Bert. I didn't really sell it. I was the only one in the office. And a couple walks in and the husband says, we saw a home with your sign on it and we want to buy it. And luckily he knew how to fill out my form. So that's kind of how I got started. But then I went on and real estate became my niche. And I hope all the people watching this program will be blessed to find their niche in life.
Yes.
Now I consider the niche in life something you find that you love to do that's not work, that you love it so much you don't really worry about the money, because all my years have taught me that if you do something that you love better than anyone else, the money will come to you.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And the thing about that I learned is that sometimes we think the money will come to us right away. I've been doing this. I should see the money. But sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Sure.
And that's why it's important for you to do what you love to do.
That's
because
right.
It won't be, you're doing it anyway because you love to do it.
Sure.
All right. So here are your first year or your first 6 months. You sold one home.
Right. Then a thing happened that I hope happens to everybody that's watching this. They find a mentor. They find a person that changes them. Right. And that's what happened to me. I heard of a man, and this was his record. This record was called The 13 Effective Methods for Closing the Sale. He was J. Douglas Edwards. His title back then was The Father of American Selling. Wow. Now, we didn't have cassettes yet. I mean, this is dating me, but that's okay. We had only records. And the people watching this are so blessed because we couldn't have record players to listen to while we drove in our car.
Right.
But everybody can have a CD. They can turn their car into a university on wheels.
Sure.
Where they learn and they grow and so forth. But I got this record and I listened to it hundreds of times, and I give him credit for being the person, the mentor, that one person that influenced me and changed my life. And, having written 18 books, I would have never written my first one, which this was the one that I took all that I learned here, and took me 3 years to write that little rascal.
3 years.
3 years.
Now, what's so amazing about that is this one took you 3 years, and you've written 18 books.
18, yes.
And why did this one take you 3 years?
Well, because I didn't really have much help. See, today I'm blessed. I've got wonderful writers that work with me. Right. I have people that will take my concepts that are audio and then put them into and work with me, and we edit.
Because now you're Tom Hopkins.
Well, I still hope so. Thank you.
But that's the difference, though, right?
Yes.
Back then, when you're not well known, you're doing everything by yourself.
Everything.
And then now, your overnight success took you whatever it was, 10, 15, 20 years. People would love to work with you. Oh, Tom, how can I help you out? Plus, you have the resources. You can hire the best to help you get it out quicker.
Yeah, it's been a fabulous journey.
I like that.
And I'll tell you, I pinch myself to today be blessed to have the lifestyle that my wife and I are so fortunate to have. And I just hope this inspires other people to realize that if I could do it with my background, anybody can do it.
Sure. Okay, so here we are. Let's recap this. You're 19.
Right.
No college.
Right.
You struggled in school.
Yes.
It took you 3 times to pass
the real estate exam.
You didn't have a car, didn't have any clothes.
Right.
And you sold your first house by sheer luck.
Right.
To this couple who came into the office. And here's what I want to point out there. I think Woody Allen said that 90% of success is showing up and being there, something like that.
Yes.
And that's what happened to you. You were there.
Right.
Like you said, you were the only one in the office. They walked in, bam, success.
Right.
Because you had the discipline to be there.
And that was the thing that started it. And I felt when I got that first little commission check, I thought, you know what, I can do this if I just stay patient. And I love the P of perseverance, where you've got to never quit.
Right.
And people watching this, I hope you realize that you may not have arrived at the level of success you desire, but you haven't failed until you quit going for the success.
Right. And again, I want to put this in perspective. Here you are again, at 19, you sold one house. Later on in your career, you get to the point where you're selling a house a day. 365 homes in a year. The first person to do that.
Well, and you know, that's really why I started speaking. When the National Association of Realtors heard that I was at that point 23 years of age, that I had sold 365 homes in the year, averaging one a day, because I would do 4 or 5 on the weekend and 2 in the weekdays. But they said, we got to have this kid come speak. And so speaking at the National Convention at 23 and having a chance to start teaching, that's kind of when the doors open.
Gotcha. To
leave the selling, because everybody says to me, why'd you leave selling if you're doing so well? I love teaching.
Right.
And I think when you have a gift of transferring ideas, techniques, concepts of success to other people, then you've been given the gift, but you have like talents, you must share them.
Right. I like that. And what's interesting here too is, again, here's a young man that struggled in school, now becomes the teacher.
Yeah, I know. I pinched myself. I really.
It's okay. So So I got to point out a couple things in this bookcase here. One of them is this profile of a champion, and this is presented by Chevrolet. It was sponsored by Chevrolet. I'm going to bring this out if you don't mind.
No, please. I'll get it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that was my first major seminar with Chevrolet.
Okay.
And you can see my young little picture. And they invited me to speak. And back then, all of General Motors operations, Chevrolet, all of them, they had inside their dealerships the first video record machines. Wow. Now, this is a record, but it's a video record.
So kind of a video disc.
Yes. They were the first automobile company. And I was their first trainer. And it was really nice because the head of the Chevrolet company said, we're going to put it right here, America's leading sales trainer, which when they say it, it's true.
That's true. That's right. That's right. That's right. I love that. But that is so cool. Okay, so this is a deal especially that you did for Chevrolet.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, and then I see this picture here. Is this you speaking?
Yes. Oh, that's my band uniform. This is the silver, and it's got the velvet little collars.
Right.
Has a velvet stripe you can't see on the pants. But that's this outfit I started speaking in when I was 19 years of age.
Wow, that is amazing. And
twice black and white. We didn't have color cameras back then.
But this is so cool because here's what's interesting is that you're speaking, you're 19, but yet you see these older men, they're taking notes. They're not concerned about your age. They're not concerned about your dress. They're concerned about what you can teach them. They're all taking notes.
Well, you know what? I've got to clarify that. I'm sorry. I was 19 when I started wearing the band uniform, but I was a little older than that when I actually did the first presentation.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Just a little older.
Yeah.
But to have someone in their early 20s to teach these older fellas, it was a blast. And I think there's such an old truth to no one cares really how old you are if you have knowledge.
Yes.
But I always say this to young salespeople. You can do very well being young, but you must be very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Because if you're young and not knowledgeable, the older folks won't want to do business with you.
I like that. I like that. And I think that is a great, lesson for everybody. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how young you are, it matters really your knowledge.
That's right.
So as you said, you can be a young person who's got a lot of knowledge, and they'll see that, and they'll respect you for it, and they'll listen.
Right.
Now, you could be an older person with no knowledge, and you have the same scenario.
Well, when I went into management, that's what I found. I'd hire some fellas who'd been in their 40s and 50s, but they never became real students of the art of selling. They were just like average salespeople, and they never really made a lot of money.
Right.
You have to make it it's like any art form. You must approach it as an art form and master it. Okay.
All right, so we were talking right before the break about the secrets of success, and you started to talk about goals. Let's start from there.
Well, I think it's one of the major foundations for a life of success is understanding how to achieve both short-term and long-term goals. And this is something I've been teaching for years, and I feel it's probably one of the most important parts of a person's life. And for example, I try to exemplify everything I teach. And when we talk about long-term goals, I think the first long-term goal is to find a partner, a spouse, a person, someone who will help you achieve your goals. And of course, this is my beloved bride, Michelle, and she's been in my life for many years, helping me through our business together as a team. And I think, so I'm going to say that's the first secret. Find someone that you have as a partner, a companion, a friend. And then the second,
now, let me
go ahead.
Real quick, because what I just heard is our business, you know, our goals, our plans. There was a lot of unity there, a lot of art.
We're a team.
I like that. I like that.
And that's what I think you have to be. She, of course, owned her own fabulous business and retired recently so that we could work again to build this business, continue to build it.
Right.
And then the second thing is your short-term goals. Now, the home that we're in, and again, you could have pinched me when I was in my $75 a month apartment to end up in this beautiful home, but this was one of my long-term goals, to have a home that exemplified my achievements.
Sure.
And then short-term goals, we have quite a few. This was one of my short-term goals. This is the famous Elton John red piano. And people who like Elton John like I do, I'm sure heard of his red piano tour, and he traveled the world with the red piano. As you see, he's put his signature here, and this was one of my short-term goals. And of course, also, I got into the love of art. And I want to show you a couple pieces because I think that you have to visualize the goal. And that's why I took pictures of the four masters of art. And I thought that your viewer might enjoy seeing a couple of these that most people will never see.
Sure. No, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. Let's go take a look at it.
Okay, let's do that. So Bert, when I talk about short-term goals, it's so important that people research what's really going to make them happy. Find things that excite them, that make them get up excited every morning, to work hard, to get focused. And that's what happened to me. I was working with a major company in Hawaii, and their whole function was selling art. And I knew nothing about art. But one day I said, I'm going to set a goal to not only study the art, learn the artists, but then also collect my own art collection. And so I started working hard and I started studying and so forth. And I said, there are four artists that are really the most renowned and famous artists. Salvador Dali, Picasso, Moreau, Chagall. And so I said, I'm going to get these four people and get a piece of their art in my home as, again, a short-term goal, an example of putting it down, taking a picture of it. This, of course, is the famous Salvador Dali Last Supper. And what's interesting about this piece, Salvador Dali was asked by four museums to create a piece of art that exemplified the four levels or four periods of Jesus Christ and his life. And that's before birth, death, and after death. And this is the first time Salvador Dali took a piece of solid gold sheeting and then made this piece of art. And of course, you can't hardly visualize it, but this is the chaos that took place when Jesus was told that he was being betrayed. And of course, you know, we see St. John up here and St. Peter. This is the table. But see, this, when I saw this and I studied the whole picture of it, I said, that has to be one of my short-term goals. And so as you watch this, I hope you will realize that you've got to really become goal-oriented, because the most successful people I've met have a total focus, a total burning desire to have the discipline to achieve those short-term and long-term goals. And again, when you start having this happen, you'll have a totally different life, which is the reason we're so thrilled to be having you come to our home and also, of course, share this message with all the folks that hopefully benefit from it.
Don't you just adore him? The passion with which he describes all of his beautiful art, our art, and the passion that he feels when he's teaching his students. This is how he is, and I'm married to him. I love him.
Hey, Tom, if you wouldn't mind, why don't you show us a little bit around the house and show us some of your favorite art pieces?
Well, you know, I think one of the happiest times of my life is when I get to share one of my passions, which is art. And so as we kind of stroll down our hall here, I tried to collect from Christian Lassen, who's one of the most prolific artists in the world today. And he's the one that's created the most popular seascapes, and I just love him. Now this is one, look at how he does the lion. I mean, this to me, to see those strokes of the hair of that lion, that just absolutely blows me away.
You know, it's amazing when you see what he does with light and you can see each little hair of that lion's mane.
Exactly. Well, that's where the passion is. Come on, I'll show you some down here. So anyway, I think it's a highlight in anyone's life when they can find out what they really want as short-term goals. And then if they're fortunate to find a profession, find a vocation, a career that enables them to achieve them. And of course, we all have favorites, and this is my very favorite piece of art. This is a Norman Rockwell. It's an artist proof, and what it was the very first cover of the Saturday Evening Post, the famous magazine, and it's called From Want, or some people just call it Thanksgiving Dinner. But you can see the realism of that is kind of what we would feel.
Yes, no, this is an amazing, amazing picture. When you look at this, you can see all the activity happening. The big smiles, the mischievous eyes over here with this gentleman over here. Just everybody's happy. This guy's got his hands ready like this.
Bring on the food.
Bring it on. And then you have, you know, what do you call it, mom and dad who are bringing all this together. And it does encapsulate what I think people think of when they think of Thanksgiving in America.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Tom, I want to thank you so much for letting us come into your home. It's been a blast. It's been so much fun to just hang out with you today and look at your art collection and just pick your brain about what it takes to be successful.
Well, of course, I love the subject, and I'm glad we had a chance to share. And hopefully we'll spend this time giving them some real how-to take-home value.
I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to dive into this, kind of a rapid-fire session. I have some questions to ask you, and I want to kind of get your first impression. And one of them is, talk about maybe some of your big mistakes or some of your big fumbles, something that took some getting over.
Well, first of all, I believe that failure is the road to success, and that no one just starts off and becomes successful immediately. I got into the real estate business. Again, I found what I considered my niche, not in the beginning, but once I went through some training, all of a sudden I started feeling like I can do this. But I had some big mistakes. I'll never forget, I showed this woman a home and she fell in love with it, and she was all excited to buy it, and all of a sudden the seller came in with her groceries, and she walked in and saw us, and I went to her, I said, "Ma'am, I'm trying to sell your home." And I said, "Please go in the other room." And she did, went in the other room, and a little while later she came back, and I said, "Ma'am, please, would you let me just show your home?" And she says, "Excuse me, sir, but did my husband decide to sell the home?" And I said, "Well, this is your address." "Yes." She goes, "No, you missed one number. That home's across the street." So here I'm showing a home that's not even for sale. And these are the things that happen in life, in business.
Right.
And I've had, some pretty fun things happen, but everybody has to realize that if failure in a way is a stepping stone towards getting success, you have to learn to cope
Yes.
and learn how to handle failure. And I, of course, teach people that failure is a learning experience, the opportunity to develop your sense of humor. If a person laughs every time they fail, they can be in stitches a lot of the day.
A lot of the day, I like that.
And so, again, all these are attitudes that you develop that enable you to keep your attitude, stay focused, achieve your goals, and never quit.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's a great example. That is a great story. You mentioned attitude. I'm a big believer that how you feel is more important than what you know. Most of us are driven by our emotions. Even though some people think they're logical, it's still, everything is, to me, an emotionally based thing. And we forget how important our attitude is, our emotional well-being, and how important it is to keep that up. Because in the moment, how we feel determines whether we're going to succeed or not, whether we're going to try one more time.
Definitely. And I've always taught that your attitude will determine your altitude
Right.
as to how high you will fly achieving success. And attitude is the foundation. And it's learning how to handle rejection, handle failure, cope with crisis, knowing that we're all going to experience it at some time in our life. And I think that, again, if you were to say what's a foundational block for building this pyramid of success, I would say it is attitude.
Right, absolutely. I think the other thing, I want to get your take on this, is that some people think that this way is success and this way is failure. And from everything I've read from your books, it's all part of the same journey, right? Like you said, you can't get from here to there without having some failure or obstacle in the way. It's not two separate journeys.
Well, it's a great comment. The no's in life are like signposts turning you towards the yes that you eventually want to accomplish.
I like that.
So no's are good,
No.
and without having them, you maybe will never achieve your yeses.
That's right. That's right. You know what? I like that. I much prefer a no, a straight out no, versus maybe, or call me back next week, and you just
The stall.
The stall, right, right. So sometimes a no is better, is as good as a yes when it keeps you going down. All right, let's talk about this. I started talking about how we feel, and I want to talk a little bit about our self-talk, or some people call them affirmations or declarations. Do you believe in this?
Oh, I do, definitely. I feel that self-talk starts with the thoughts you have, and this is kind of my concept. It all begins with the thoughts you have in your mind, and that's why thoughts are things, and you must choose your thoughts wisely.
I like that.
Then the thoughts go out of our mouths with words that go back into our ears, and then the actions take place.
Right.
So self-talk is very important. I believe in reading certain things. I have even in a thing called the little shower card that I have my students of my training. They hang in the shower and they read it while they're showering. And it's, again, a way to start your day off. Things like, today I'll meet the right people at the right time in the right place for the betterment of all.
I like
Well,
that.
see, if you say that a lot, I feel that the actions will happen. Today I will not take rejection personally. They aren't rejecting me. So it can't hurt me. Things like this enable you to have what I call a thicker skin
Yes.
towards the pain that we must go through in this ladder to success.
Yes. And I like that. I mean, that one alone about today I won't take rejection personally. All of us on some level are getting rejected. I mean, if you're an actor, for instance, it's just like a salesperson. Rejection is part of your equation to succeed or success. And so not to take it personally, what a great thought
Sure.
to have in your mind, and by repeating it over and over again, it sinks into your subconscious. And like you said, you start to develop that thicker skin. You don't come home exhausted because
That's
you didn't
right.
take it personally.
That's right. And it's true of everyone. Years ago, I did a program, and on the program was an older, successful comedian, Bob Hope. And we talked on the plane flying to the meeting, and he said, Tom, you know what I'm selling every day as a comedian? Because if the audience doesn't laugh, I didn't make the sale.
Right.
And I have had things that I've created that have bombed, and I can't take that rejection of the audience not giving me the input I want. I just have to shrug it off and keep looking for the next laugh.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let me ask you this, because I see you have this $1 million bill in your shirt pocket. Tell us about this.
I've always talked about, as you know, goal setting. And a lot of people that come to my training, they have a goal of having wealth. And of course, it's not quite what it used to be. But if you get a net worth of $1 million and handle your money properly, you can pretty much have a darn good life just living off the interest that $1 million will make in some decent investments.
Right.
So I always pass out these, of course, they aren't real, but I pass out these $1 million bills, and I have them, in plastic, and I have written in my writing, "Go for it." And so that I asked them to carry this. And it's kind of like saying, if you want $1 million, you must visualize it. So you take this $1 million bill out every morning in front of the mirror, and you say, "You will be mine, and today you'll come closer to me by the effort I put forth to serve more people." And that's the type of thing as an affirmation.
I like that. And I hope that what people picked up on that is that you had a certain amount of intensity as you
Sure.
did that. It wasn't, "Oh, I will, move closer to this," and blah, blah, blah. You had intensity and power.
And intensity is important. It's like this little affirmation: "I will win." Why? I'll tell you why. Because I have faith, courage, and enthusiasm. And see, if you have faith in yourself, your company, our country, if you have courage to do what you fear most, and you have enthusiasm to stay excited even when you don't feel excited, because people love to be around those people that are not only happy, but radiate the enjoyment of life and enthusiasm.
Absolutely. No, I love that. That's great. All right, let's talk about this. How does leadership play a role in sales?
Well, in essence, in selling, you are leading people.
Right.
Meaning you're leading them to say yes to own the benefits of your product or service.
Right.
So we could call selling a step in leadership. But almost all the same fundamentals of selling can be applied to management and leadership. Because I found that, granted, many great salespeople don't become great managers or leaders, but many of the traits of selling can be taken into leadership. And when I first became and left selling to go into managing a sales force, I had to go and learn from other managers. And a mistake that most salespeople make is they want to become a leader before they get training from another leader. So it's very wise, if you're thinking about leaving sales to go into management or your own company, search out successful management trainers, spend the money to fly wherever they are, and learn what to do before you have to do it. Because many people that go into leadership without training mess up the people they're leading till they understand how to lead.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
It does. It does. I like that. And it's so amazing how many companies and how many sales professionals have no training in place.
I know. It's a shame. I almost failed miserably because we didn't have any training. The first company I went to, Bert, they had a training program like, there's your desk, there's your phone.
There's the phone, yeah.
Lots of luck, you're on your own, and that was it. But fortunately, before I lost all my money, before I started making commissions, I found a company that had great training, and I attribute that company to training me, and that's, I think, one of the things saved me from not leaving selling.
Right.
But find leaders, find mentors, and find people that you'd like to be like. That's one of the things I always said. Follow a leader that you would like to become. And some people you don't relate to. Some people you say, I wouldn't want to be that person. Well, then do not make them your mentor or your leader.
Right. I like that. Okay, so let me ask you this. Here you are. You've been a trainer now for 30 plus years. You are probably the trainer of all trainers. Everybody has your information on their shelf. They've gone to your seminars. Do you yourself still listen and
Sure.
read and train materials?
Sure. I am always looking for the newest kind of concept. And one thing I do when I go into a city to do a seminar, I will have a major company that's sending some people, send me their top producer. And I'll have dinner usually the night before the seminar with this person who's out now in the field. They are top producers. And I ask them, what are the changes taking place? What's different in the marketplace? Well, see, in a way, that's education for me.
Sure.
But I also have a library of books, of CDs and stuff that I, of course, listen to. I'm a firm believer that I also try to go back to basics. Some of the old fundamentals, even like Think and Grow Rich by Norman Vincent Peale. If you can find a copy of that, it's still today so fundamentally sound
Right.
to help you achieve a greater degree of success. But knowledge is power when properly applied to the right people, and that knowledge can't come unless you find people that you learn from.
Right.
Stay a good student.
Yes. I remember the concept from your book, How to Master the Art of Selling, where you talk about role playing and just beating it up, just do it over and over and over again. And even though to me that's now a very simple idea, but back then it was like, well, of course, it's a big aha, of course that's what you should do, right? And, I had a chance to interview Arnold Schwarzenegger, and as governor, here's a guy who's trained as an actor.
Sure.
He's trained to be in front of people, and yet he would review his speeches 40, 50, 60 times before actually conducting them. And I'm thinking, if this is a professional actor slash speaker slash entertainer who's used to going in front of the camera, but yet he's not leaving it up to chance. He's
No.
studying his speech 20, 30, 40 times, 50 times, getting it ready. How much more important is it for us?
Oh, you're so right. And many salespeople don't really want to practice, and because of that, they master a lot of what they shouldn't say or do.
Right.
And no, I totally believe what's so amazing is the people that do best practice most. I years ago belonged to a country club in California because I love golf, and one of the members there was Tiger Woods. And when he'd come out, we of course loved to watch him, and he would come out, and of course they loved him there at the club, but they would bring out a pile of maybe 2 feet high of balls.
Wow.
We would have our 10 to 20.
Right.
We hit them and run to the first tee. We'd come back 4 hours later, and Tiger Woods is still in front of that pile of balls practicing. And of course, don't forget this little saying, practice doesn't make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect. So make sure you find the right people to learn from and practice with.
I like that. I like that so much. All right, so let me ask you this. If you had some pieces of advice or pearls of wisdom that you were going to, let's say, teach a class of students or salespeople, what would you tell them? Look right into the camera and kind of, talk to them, and what would you advise them?
Well, the first thing I would do is make sure you find a business that you really like. And even if you have to make a change, get enough money put away to where you can afford to do the research and find a business, a product, a service, a company that you like. Because half of life is being happy, and I don't know how you could be happy not doing something you love to do. Secondly, I think you need to develop an attitude that I'm not going to let any type of failure or rejection hurt me. And that's why I'd kind of like to share what I call my champion creed with you. And this is a kind of a creed. We all need mission statements. And years ago, I sat down and spent a lot of hours writing what we now call in our business of training a champion creed. And it goes like this. I'm not judged by the number of times I fail, but by the number of times I succeed. And the number of times I succeed is in direct proportion to the number of times I can fail and keep trying. And as we end, I humbly submit that champion creed, I hope you'll review and go over and go through, and then maybe write it down, practice it, teach it to your kids, because many of them are not learning this type of concept in school. And I think we as parents have to give them concepts where they can grow, mature, end up in that top 5% of our society, which we call pure achievers. So I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this time.
Tom, I can't either. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to spend time with you and kind of peek into your life and find out about how you work. And you know what, real quick, I want to talk about this. One of the secrets that I heard you mention, but I want to finish up by saying this. You mentioned a couple times about hard work. And I think a lot of people are looking for the shortcuts. Hey, it's social media. Oh, no, it's email. It's this. There are no shortcuts, are there?
No. In fact, I'm going to give you a generality, Bert, a rule of thumb. And of course, this isn't true for every business. But I believe if a person will commit 24 to 36 months of focused, committed, quote, hard work, the hours, the time, the effort, they'll build a momentum to where they can do less and less and keep up their same income. But the challenge is, many people don't want to put forth that fanatical effort. I call it that, fanatical effort, to where you won't have to put so much effort forth. And this is something that I've tried my best. We all have 86,400 seconds in a day. No one has any more. No one has any less.
Right.
But the people that seem to have the most productivity get the most productivity out of those 86,400 seconds because they do put forth fanatical effort for a period of time. And that is true. A lot of people want it fast. They want a shortcut. And I personally don't believe there is a real shortcut. I think you got to find something you love to do it better than anyone in the company, build a referral base where people think of you. When your industry is mentioned, they see your face. When they see your face, they know your industry.
Right.
And that's how you build a long-term success.
I like that. The shortcut is hard work.
That's the shortcut.
I like that. Tom, it's been a pleasure. I can't wait.
My pleasure.
I can't wait to hang out with you some more.
We'll do it again. Thank you all.
It was great.
It was fantastic.
The seminar was unbelievable.
It was inspirational.
Excellent as always.
Tom Hopkins is recognized as the world's leading authority on selling techniques and salesmanship.
I have tried to be billed as a how-to trainer. Not a motivator, although motivation is part of success, but a how-to trainer.
Because of his unique ability to share enthusiasm and successful selling techniques, Tom Hopkins began giving seminars in 1974. He currently makes available audio and videotape programs for those who want to reinforce his teachings after a seminar. Recognized as the most effective sales training programs ever produced, they are continually updated and are now being utilized by more than 1 million people worldwide. Tom Hopkins understands what hard work is and how it relates to success. In Tom's own words, no woman ever gave birth to a great salesperson. At the age of 18, he was carrying steel on the road to nowhere.
Well, I was a bridge deck specialist. That means I got to carry number 11 bars, which are 1 3/8, 60 feet long, up and down a ramp, 8 hours a day. I did that for 1.5 years. One morning I said, there's got to be an easier way.
See, when I first started, I would have loved to just learn techniques to earn an income to literally just pay my bills. And you know, what's so sad is I almost failed out of selling, but luckily found people that taught me how-to techniques.
Tom Hopkins has authored 4 books, including How to Master the Art of Selling, published in 1980. Now available in 7 languages, it's the best-selling book on the subject of sales in the world today, having surpassed 900,000 copies sold. Training as many as 10,000 salespeople a month, Tom has become known as the world's leading sales trainer. Today, he presents approximately 75 seminars a year throughout the United States, Canada, and Australia.
I've been to several seminars, and he just rewrote the entire seminar. And I was glad I came because he put in a lot of new things, telephone techniques, a lot of things. And it's always good for review, but he did plug in some new things that I hadn't thought of. And so I've got a few more bullets in my belt, so to speak, to go out and take care of business.
I thought it was great. I've got some buddies who are just 100% sold on Tom, and I came today, and he lived up to everything I thought he would.
It was great. I know tomorrow will be a great day. I'll close a lot of sales.